generating enough heat with her tumultuous couplings to equal the forest fires he fought, and although she was less than a wife, she was much more than a mistress. Every year during fire season she followed his camp, working seasonally as a dispatcher for the Forest Service while he did combat with burning mountains and tried, successfully so far, to keep the geriatric airplanes he flew out of the mud. He had a responsibility not to run from her, at least before providing an explanation, and she was the girl to hold him to it. So where the hell would he be, she wondered, feeling a flash of embarrassment and letting the images in her mind get mixed up with her always confusing desire for him. She always wanted more, and he had almost promised more a month ago, and she had sensed an impending proposal. But then, as always, the trees had caught fire somewhere in the west, and he'd happily gone back to his real mistress, fighting fires with aging airplanes. Misty had noticed a large cruise ship lying at anchor a half-mile offshore, a typical scene for Grand Cayman. She'd watched it earlier as its tenders steadily shuttled the passengers to and from their day in town, and Misty wondered now if somehow Jeff could be on the passenger list. Maybe that was his surprise, to suddenly appear and pull her aboard to a waiting cabin. Dream on, girl. A cool breeze kissed her face and ruffled her red hair in a flurry of motion. There were fluffy cumulus clouds blocking the malevolent heat of the Caribbean sun, and they added to the luxurious, languid feel of the island. She felt the loose, knee-length dress she was wearing shift provocatively against her body as she reached up to coax her hair back into place, just as a hotel minivan glided past, slowing in the line of traffic. Misty's eyes absently took in the interior, noting a strikingly pretty young woman with blonde hair next to the window, and Jeff sitting next to her. He was trying unsuccessfully to hide his face. Damn it, Misty thought. He is here. Damn him! She shook off the shock of finding he wasn't alone and memorized the phone number of the hotel painted on the side of the minivan. It was rounding the corner as she yanked out her phone and punched the number in, still amazed that a U.S.-based cell phone would work in the middle of the Gulf of Mexico. At least she could find out where the van was taking them. He would have registered under an alias, she thought, since he was obviously trying to avoid her, but she asked for Jeff Mays's room anyway. There was the predictable delay before the hotel operator reported that there was no Jeff Mays registered. "Well, give me the bell desk or whoever controls your van," she asked. A bellman came on the line with suspicious cheerfulness, all too willing to tell her that their driver was headed to the airport and would return in a half hour. "Okay," she thought. "What more evidence do you need, girl? It's time to write the dog out of your life." But he was headed to the airport. Jeff was here and headed to the airport, and if she hurried, she might be able to catch him. She had a rental car, she had a map, but she also had her pride. "I absolutely am not going to chase that grinning bastard down and make a fool of myself again, especially not in front of some little girl toy on his arm. Nope, that's it. Kaput. Over." Misty pulled open her purse and rummaged for the picture of the two of them she always carried. She moved a few steps to a trash can and tore the photo into little pieces with open vehemence. She closed her purse then, and suddenly found herself breaking into a run, dodging through traffic and racing to reach her rental car, while what was left of her self-esteem helplessly screamed, "No!" The two-lane road to the airport was crowded and slow, but Misty caught up with the empty minivan as the driver was trying to pull away from the curb. She blocked his exit and jumped out, earning a startled honk as she fumbled in her purse for her wallet and another photo of Jeff, which she shoved in front of the driver through the open window. "The man in the blonde you just dropped off, is this a picture of him?" she asked. Yes," the driver replied, clearly on guard. "Are they together, the girl and this guy?" She palmed a $20 bill into his hand, and he glanced at it before looking up at her in alarm. "Are you his wife?" Misty laughed a little too sharply and shook her head. "Relax. He doesn't believe in wives. I'm a co-worker." "Okay," he said, smiling thinly. "Yes, they checked out at the same time. I do not know where they're going." "You don't know which airline they're using?" "No." Misty thanked him and returned to her car. She reparked it along the perimeter fence just beyond the terminal building and closed the door behind her. There was a familiar shape on the private aircraft ramp a quarter-mile distant, and she had to squint against the afternoon sun to make it out. But once she focused on it, the image was unmistakable. "My God, a DC-6B," she thought. It was the same model Jeff flew as an air tanker captain. The DC-6B he flew back in Wyoming had a red vertical tail fin with the ship number painted in white, but the tail on this one was bare metal. "Those old workhorses are everywhere, I guess," she thought. "Probably owned by some freight dog outfit in Miami." She turned and looked again. There was